how is the cell working? If the cell can work, then the organ's going to work. If the organ's going to work, the system's going to work. If the system's going to work, then you as a human work better. So if we can go all the way back to what's causing the cell not working well, then we can fix everything downstream. So the cell is upstream as far as you can possibly go. And then we can fix the things downstream because we're fixing it step by step.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in. Have you ever felt like you're not performing at your peak? Maybe you're dealing with brain fog, a lack of energy, or unexplained pain. My guest today is an expert at tackling exactly those issues. Please welcome Dr. Cheryl A. Luther. She helps athletes, entrepreneurs, and high performers eliminate brain fog, pain, and energy crashes so they can stay sharp and unstoppable. With over 20 years in neuroscience, sports performance, and root cause medicine, she uncovers hidden health stressors and delivers science-backed strategies to restore focus, vitality, and peak performance. So welcome, Dr. Cheryl. I'm so happy to have you on the podcast. I've been reading a lot of what you post and a lot of your information you put out. You are a font of information. You absolutely have so much to share. But let's get started a little bit. I'd like to get started first. Just everybody has a story, and I know you do too. Can we share a little bit about your story, your background of why you are now in functional medicine?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, first off, thanks for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. I'm the founder of NeuroFit Health Solutions, and NeuroFit is a holistic health clinic, and we focus on brain and gut health. And that goes much deeper. So what we actually do is we help people who've been dismissed by traditional medicine. Those people who have a lot of different weird symptoms that their traditional doctors have dismissed. And we look deeper. We look at the root causes. We look at, we find a lot of hidden toxins. We find parasites. We find a lot of infections that approximately 95% of traditional doctors, they don't even look for, so they miss it. And currently I'm writing a book about this topic. It's called Burden, Not Broken: The Hidden Reasons Your Health Declines. And I'm also working on a YouTube channel. It's small. I'm growing it. I'm working on it. And the whole point is to be able to give people resources for those weird symptoms. And the big mission really is that health isn't just about being and feeling better today. It's about being at 95 and saying, I'm not done yet. I still want to go. I still feel good. So that's like the encompassing part of what I'm doing. But the background started when I was a kid. I started with some massive headaches. They started around 4th grade. I played a lot of soccer. I had a lot of concussions. My youth was a lot of outdoorsy stuff. So I encountered a lot of environmental toxins, environmental parasites. We had horses, we had rabbits, we had all sorts of different animals. So we had the farm side of things, but also playing soccer had the exposure to all of the pesticides and the herbicides on the fields, and then the concussions. So everything started to really build up, and I had no idea. I was just this kid doing my thing, right? Like most people, just doing their thing, and had no idea that all these things were accumulating. And it wasn't until later in high school, I went to a chiropractor, and he completely changed my world, because my headaches that were so bad, he was able to reduce them. I wasn't having the ocular migraines where you can't see. So you can't see your eyes. You have like little slivers that you can see, but mostly your vision is gone. And then you get these massive pain. It's behind the eyes. The pain is ridiculous, and then nauseousness and all of those things come. But he was able to reduce that tremendously for me. So I thought, okay, this is amazing. Like, this is the answer, right? So I ended up going into chiropractic based on it kept me on the field. I was a pretty intense athlete, and chiropractic was able to keep me going. And so I thought, this is the answer. This is the end all be all. Went into school, went into practice right after school. And then I started thinking, okay, Why are some of my symptoms coming back? Why are my clients not getting well, even though I'm giving them the absolute best that I can? I've implemented all the techniques. I'm helping them unwind so much of their stressors, but they're still not getting to where they could be. So I started asking myself, like, okay, why? And that's when I pivoted into functional medicine. And I was like, okay, so there's more to this than just unraveling the nervous system. We have to go deeper. And then as I started working through functional medicine, I was like, this isn't the answer either. This is a good start, but it's not the answer. So because I was still dealing with a number of my concussion symptoms. So like sleep issues, I was dealing with brain fog. My sleep issues were ridiculous. My fatigue was off the charts. I still had dark circles under my eyes. I wasn't able to focus. There were so many things that my childhood is catching up with me still again, and I hadn't solved it. So that's why I kept asking why and why and why. And by asking why, it led me to root cause medicine. So it's a step beyond functional medicine. And we really dig deep into how is a cell working? If the cell can work, then the organ's going to work. If the organ's going to work, the system's going to work. If the system's going to work, then you as a human work better. So if we can go all the way back to what's causing the cell not working well, then we can fix everything downstream. So the cell is upstream as far as you can possibly go. And then we can fix the things downstream because we're fixing it step by step from the base. We're not trying to cover things up.
Yeah, I resonate with this so much because I was an outdoor girl. And not that we didn't live on a farm, but what we did was we spent summers at a lake, and not in any fancy house either. We in a tent at the lake. So I was barefoot the whole time, in the water, in and out of the water the whole time, and we ate over a campfire. Yes. Most of the time. Sometimes
you're so good.
It was actually a delightful childhood.
Yes,
I actually loved it, and still love the outdoors. I mean, still love being outdoors better than anything else. But I too started getting migraines when I was in college. And I was thinking, oh, okay, is it because I'm taking chemistry and 3 chemistry courses this semester? But no, it's like you said, it's much more than that. It's you really have to go in and as we heal, we go kind of in and out of things. Like you said, you thought you found the solution because things were better, and then suddenly you realize, well, they're maybe better, but they're not best. And that's the way. Looking at our own health is like, I always compare it to a jigsaw puzzle.
Yes.
And I'm very much into nutrition, but nutrition is only one piece of the jigsaw puzzle.
Correct.
You've got to get everything together, and you've got to look at everything and have someone guide you to help you looking at these things.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. I mean, even as a practitioner myself, I have coaches. I have people that I lean on to when you are so close to the system or the problem or your scenario, it's really hard to pull all the pieces out. It's really easy for somebody else from the outside to be like, oh, of course, it's this. Can't you see that? And you're like, no, I can't see. I see all these things, but I don't see the thing that you see. So I think it's so incredibly important to have a coach or somebody that's on your team that can see those things and can help you not do it for you, but support you through your health journey.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. When we talked last time, we talked about you kind of have a 4-step process with your clients, with your patients. It's, what did you say? You tell me. Discover, remove. What's the third one?
Restore,
and then sustain.
You got it. Fantastic. Yeah. Yes.
4-step process. And I had heard of 4-step, this kind of thing with different words, but that's okay. That's what my head was going. Which one is it? But it's still valid. And what we're talking about just now was the discovery part. Discovering what is the root cause.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as simple as going and getting a little bit of blood work. I mean, it's not as simple as that.
No, there's
Tell us more about how you help guide people through discovery. I mean, that could be an important, again, another important piece of the jigsaw puzzle.
absolutely, it's part of the puzzle, but it's
It
not
is
the
part
whole
of it.
puzzle.
It's not the whole puzzle.
Absolutely. A lot of it comes from your experiences and what you're feeling, what you're noticing around your changes. That's usually where people start. They say, "Oh, I don't have as much energy as I used to." They say, I'm not remembering where my keys are," or "I'm having a problem recalling names." Or they'll say, "You know what? I used to be able to sit down for 3 hours and knock out a blog or some type of writing, and they are done after 20 minutes because they can't focus." It's the symptomology that people notice first. And that's usually what leads them down to ask more questions. And that's what we do in discovery. Discovery is really about asking the questions to figure out what's happening so that we can correct it. We can't correct it unless we know what's happening. We could throw a lot of stuff at the wall, just like spaghetti, and maybe something will stick. That's great if it sticks, but you're going to spend a lot of money that way. You're going to spend a lot of frustration and a lot of time. So what we want to do is we want to narrow down and figure out, why aren't those cells working? So it's really the answering the question of why and what is it? And if we can narrow what it is, and we do that through talking, through comprehensive health history, we do it through some blood testing. We can do saliva testing. We can do stool testing. We can do breath testing. There's all sorts of different testing that we can do based on the initial symptomology. Like, what are you feeling? What are you feeling dictates to tell us what kind of testing would make sense. And that testing would then tell us, okay, this is the path that we're going to go down. In the remove section, so you've got discovery and then remove, we don't want to remove stuff that's maybe not the problem. So we want to make sure that the discovery is really robust.
I hadn't thought about it that way. Don't remove something that's not the problem.
It might be part of the good things.
It might be part of a good thing. Yeah. Yeah, because people jump on, that's when people jump on fad diets or fad things. Like, oh, well, everybody's sensitive to gluten. No, not everybody.
We can test for
But
that.
some people are.
Some people are. And
some people
are sensitive to the actual protein, and some people are sensitive to there are different parts of the protein that people can be sensitive to. And some people are just sensitive to grain in general because of the mycotoxins or because of the other parts of the grain. So it could be a grain thing. It could be a very specific protein in like wheat or barley, just one little thing. So, I mean, you don't want to disrupt your entire, if you love pizza, if you want to eat pizza, you don't want to take that out of your diet if you don't have to. If it's necessary, then of course you have to make those decisions to change those lifestyle pieces. But you want to know what it is so that you can make sure that the remove section and the restore sections are appropriate.
So the remove section, I mean, I think it's as good as you're not removing everything. It's not like you're going down to, and some people do this. They do these cleanses where they're basically not, I don't know. They're eating very few things, very few items, and they're just, I don't know, going kind of a whole hog the other way. It is important to know, okay, so what could be the issues? Expertise I don't have, but my husband has, is the toxins in our home. And so that can be something. And that usually is not a bad way to start, but you don't know. You don't know what is in the home. Is it mold in the home? Is it the cleansers you bring that make things sparkling bright and smell so good?
Is it a fabric softener that is going to disrupt your hormones?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything that we touch, it's in the fabric that's in my shirt right now. It's how deep do you want to go? And again, I think that's another reason why discovery is so darn important, because if your body's able to remove those toxins naturally, then maybe it's not something that you need to worry about as an input, in the next step of remove. If your body is unable to get rid of those mycotoxins, well, then it needs some assistance. And that's where we step in, and that's when we remove it. But if your body's able to say, coffee, You drink coffee every morning. Most people, a lot of people do. I'd say most people. A lot of people drink coffee every morning. Coffee is one of the top foods that contains mycotoxins. So
Wow.
if you're consuming mycotoxins every single day, and we test for it, we can decide, is your body able to clear it or is your body not able to clear it? Now, if your body is able to clear it, okay, that's maybe not something that we're going to target. But if it's not able to clear it, obviously we need some lifestyle changes. So we just change up the type of coffee. You don't have to stop drinking coffee. You just use a brand that actually tests for mycotoxins, and it's proven that there's no mycotoxins in the coffee. And then we start to remove it appropriately. So it's that discovery is so darn important.
Discovery is important. And then remove. I mean, when you do find something that you're sensitive to, or something that, when you find out, like you get your house tested for mycotoxins, and you find out that it's off the chart, high in it, or, high in some of these major toxic things that have happened in the past. But that's a unique situation. For the average person, it's going to be a mix of all these, right?
Absolutely.
And so you're going to find a way to remove what you can. And maybe it's a step-by-step process.
Yeah, absolutely. If you do it all at once, you may overwhelm the system, and you're in a worse position because you feel like crap. So slow and steady is really best. And the body eliminates toxins in a very particular order. So that's why people who work with me, we go through a very specific order. I don't want to throw the kitchen sink at them. I want to go nice and slow. And we start in the bowels. We want to make sure that you're pooping. You have to be pooping multiple times a day and in good volume, and make it sure it's an appropriate stool. Once you're pooping, then we can start working on the gallbladder. We can start working on some of the organs, and we can start working on the lymph. So all the stuff, all the fluid around your body that moves nutrients around, and then we can start working on the brain. And I started with the brain. That was my whole. As we started with the intro, I thought this was the problem. Actually, it was all my plumbing all the way through my system was backed up, and this wasn't able to drain. So as I was able to unravel all the different steps in order, then this cleared up.
Oh, so, great.
Yeah, and very, very important how we do it, and make sure that it's in a systematic manner, and we're not overwhelming the system, because then you end up with, you just don't feel good if you have toxins constantly floating around in your system. You want to eliminate them. You want to get rid of them.
Yeah. I mean, people go on these severe detoxes, and often they make themselves sicker.
Yeah.
At least for a while.
Yes.
And I think going in an orderly fashion, let this, start having this heal and then that heal. That's good. Okay. So when do you start restoring?
Start restoring when your test results look good. Some clients, they want to test often and all the time, and I'm like, okay, let's time out. Let's do this in a systematic manner. And then other clients are like, I don't ever want to test again. Okay, well then we have to focus heavily on your self-assessments. So we have some forms so we can quantify what's happening in the system. When those start to clear up, then we can start to restore. We want to make sure that we have removed all the toxins first. And sometimes people can do it really fast. Some people, it takes years to get to that next step of restoring. And that's when we start looking at your micronutrients and what needs to be replaced. Not everything needs to be replaced. That's the one thing that I don't love about functional medicine, is that's where they typically start, is replacing stuff. Oh, you have cramps, great, you need more magnesium. Do you need more magnesium? Or is your body just not able to use the magnesium that's already in the system? So, and that's where we have, if we can remove what's stealing the magnesium, then we need to make sure we understand, do you need magnesium? If you do, then absolutely, we have quality supplements that we can implement into the system, new foods, making sure that you're getting extra put into the body to restore it. But we want to make sure that that's appropriate and we're not overwhelming the system again.
Lovely. That's great. And so now they're feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting more energy,
Yes.
able to think
Yes.
straight a little more, no more brain fog.
Absolutely. This is typically where people are like, I just ran my first marathon in 5 years, or I just did this, or I just did that. Can you believe I'm back to blah, blah, blah? I'm like, this is amazing. This is great. Keep going. Yay. And that's when we want to sustain it. That's when they're feeling good. We've done the hard work. Now we just have to maintain that work and make sure that things stay where they are, and then they keep improving. So that's the sustain part, and that's where we can continue to test on a regular basis, meaning anywhere from 12 to 18 months. Some people want to push that out a little further. We can also talk about making sure that those micro nutrients are appropriate through the system. Sometimes when you replenish, that's all the body needs. Some bodies, they need extra throughout the next couple of years, and that's part of the sustain. And then in addition to that, so I told you about my brain, some things that we can do beyond the cellular health is that we can work on the metronome, we can work on QEEG, we can put in good energy inputs into the cells, particularly the brain cells, as physical therapies. So at that point, your body's ready to accept those therapies. It's not going to resist it. It's going to accept it. And you're going to find huge gains. If you try to do it too early, what I found, and I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars figuring this out, is that you're gonna put a lot of hard work in, especially like an athlete like myself, where you just push harder. You just keep going harder. You double down. You keep going.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work because your body, your cells are not ready to accept it. So that's why we reserve that.
That's why this is staying. I was wondering if just because you hear about people, like I see people who fall off. They do all the work to feel better, and then they just say, oh well, now I can do anything I want. And sometimes that's okay, but a lot of times it just brings them slowly back to where they were. And to have a very definitive way to help them sustain, it's wonderful.
I think it's absolutely crucial to be able to sustain that, because we're still consuming, we're still in this, most of us should say, are still in the same environments. So those toxins are still bombarding our bodies. Yeah. So if we're not paying attention, then we'll just go downhill to where we were. And so
there's a lot of toxins that we have no control over as an individual. Right. There are some that people bring into their homes, and you can quit bringing some of those into your homes. But there are also, there's just some things out. When you're talking about, your shirt, it's like, anything that has a anti-inflammatory, not anti-inflammatory, but is it flame resistant? Any materials that was very popular. That was so popular when my children were little. Oh no, you put them in flame resistant pajamas so they're not going to burn up. And my husband's like, oh no, we're putting them in cotton pajamas, organic cotton pajamas.
Good for him. Yes, go EPA.
And that's starting little, but these little bodies, they need this too. I think sometimes if you have children and you're going through this process, it's natural that you're helping them too, helping your children too, because you're changing the environment a little bit. You're changing what you eat, maybe,
hopefully,
and some of that may be adding more things, adding more vegetables and things, adding to what you eat, making small decisions. I've seen it over and over again that when you get one person really improving their health in the family, most of the time the others follow, especially the person improving their health is the one who does the cooking and the household stuff.
Absolutely. Yes.
Doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. It's just whoever's doing that part, they're taking care of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if they just simple, small things that you can do cooking, cook out of a cast iron pan instead of the non-stick stuff.
Yeah. Instead of a Teflon pan.
Use real butter instead of the spray. I don't even know what, I don't use it. So I don't
spray. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm changing the oils. Use avocado oil and things in olive oil. Those seem to be nice. But,
absolutely.
Well, this has been delightful, and of course, it went too fast. As far as I don't feel like we should be done, but I think we need to stop now, and we're gonna have you on again another time. That would be lovely. Tell us, how is your favorite way, the best way to get in touch with you? I know you're on all kinds of social media, and I will be posting those links in the show notes. But
Perfect.
what really it's an easy way to reach you?
I think that's a great question. I appreciate that. So my website is neurofithealthsolutions.com. That's the easiest way to find some information. If you are a visual learner like myself, YouTube is where as I mentioned, I'm trying to grow that program. And if you leave comments in any of the videos, I will make videos based on those comments or questions, because that's what people want. So I want to make sure that I'm getting those questions answered. So those are two ways to have a two-way street. And if you want more of a one-way street, what I'll do is I'll give you a link for an assessment. It's a free assessment. If people are like, I'm not sure if this is a good thing for me, or if I should look at a detox, or if I should maybe head down this road, a question is always like, is this specifically for me or not? Not so sure. I'll give you a link that you can post, Robin, and it's a quiz, and it gives you some information about what's happening in your body and maybe some direction that you can take for yourself. And that might be helpful as well. And I'll also have my email attached to that.
Okay, that's wonderful. And are you able to work virtually?
I do. I work 95% virtual. I prefer virtual. Everything is done through Zoom. If we need to send supplements, that's done through snail mail. If we need to do some testing, I can send people to your home. And if it's phlebotomy, if you need a blood draw, I can send somebody to your home, and they'll pull the blood out, they'll take the vial, and they'll ship it off to the lab for you. And then I get the lab results, and then we get back on Zoom and we have a conversation around those lab results and what we want to do. So everything can be done remote. I typically stay in North America for the most part, because that's the easiest with snail mail and time zones.
That is the easiest. That is the easiest. But anyway, this has been delightful.
Thank you so much for joining me at my Over 40 and Fabulous podcast. If this podcast has been helpful for you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with those in your life who need to hear this empowering message. And don't forget to download my free gift, 5 Ways to Get Started with Healthy Habits Without Getting Overwhelmed. This free guide leads you through 5 small steps that will allow you to ease into healthy habits until they become a natural part of your life. It's wonderful if you're just not quite sure how to get started. To get this helpful guide, go to robinthomas.is/community support, and I will put it in the show notes too. Drop in your email and it will arrive straight to your inbox. Bye for now, and I'll see you next